Deputy Speaker, members, today we debate an issue of our time: uncontrolled and illegal immigration. I bring this debate today not just as a DUP representative, but as a voice for the many people across our country who have felt forgotten, who feel overwhelmed and unheard. The statistics are stark, with close on 1 million people a year entering the UK, and that doesn't even take into account the number arriving illegally and unvetted. Today, I speak for the mother in Newton Ards who rang over 100 times to her GP surgery hoping her sick child could be seen, only to be told her surgery is at capacity. I speak for the pensioner in Portadown who's been on the housing list for 3 years, waiting and watching as emergency accommodation springs out overnight just down the road. I speak for the teacher in North Belfast who tells me she's teaching children in classes of up to 30 or more, trying to offer every child the attention they deserve, but feeling deflated by a system stretched well beyond its limits. I speak for the foreign national who came to these shores many years ago, worked hard, paid taxes, and respected our culture and our way of life, only to watch on in horror as hordes of young men descend on Britain's shores in rubber boats and into the open arms of a state benefit system paid for on the back of their hard work. I will towards the end. That is what is at stake. These are the people that we represent, and this motion, Speaker, is about standing up for them. This is not a motion born out of ideology or sensationalism. It's firmly rooted in practical realities our communities face every single day. It's about protecting our public services, preserving community cohesion, and ensuring that our infrastructure is not stretched far beyond its limits. The Prime Minister, whilst many of us will doubt his sincerity, talked about we risk becoming an island of strangers. He may not believe his own words, but I can assure the House, members on these branches certainly do. This motion is about a growing and deeply concerning failure to address illegal and uncontrolled immigration and its direct impact on the people of Northern Ireland. Firstly, I will if I have time. Firstly, we must note the context. The Prime Minister has laid out plans to reduce legal immigration, yet day by day we are still seeing and grappling with the realities that illegal immigration continues to wreak upon our communities, enabled by consecutive weak governments, both Conservative and indeed Labour, have failed to introduce a UK-wide enforcement strategy that is both robust and fair. Day in and day out, our constituents, your constituents, are seeing the consequences of these policy failures in our housing, our health service, and our schools. A nation without borders is not a nation at all. They should never be chalk lines which fade with political lunacy, rather a source of security and certainty for its citizens. To the Unionist who feels let down by consecutive UK governments, I hear you. To the Nationalist or Republican who feels they are not being listened to by parties in which you voted for, I hear you. You have been failed by Nationalist and Republican politicians whom we must ask the question, where does their loyalty lie, if not with the working class communities across this country who are feeling the disproportionate burden of failed immigration policy? It's telling just how out of touch parties like Sinn Féin are whenever we see such a small number of them come to the Assembly today to debate immigration, yet they fill the chamber to talk about returning artefacts to museums. How embarrassing Sinn Féin's policy of Brits out and everyone else in is fooling absolutely nobody. Let us talk now about the costs. According to the National Audit Office, the estimated cost for accommodating illegal immigrants in Northern Ireland has soared to 400 million, 4 times the original estimate. This is a fiscal irresponsibility of epic proportions. Every single pound overspent is a pound not going into our overstretched health trusts and GPs, services and crumbling infrastructure and underfunded schools. Members, this is not sustainable. This figure is no different across the UK in its entirety. Current figures estimate that the total spend by the Home Office is over the last 10 years in the UK has been £15.3 billion of public money. Now let's speak plainly about the pressures on public services. Across Northern Ireland, GP practices are overwhelmed, access to dental services non-existent, parents struggling to find school places for their children, and small businesses taxed to death to pay for a hopeless, regrettable, failed open border policy. We must ask ourselves, why must we be expected to bear a burden we were neither prepared for nor consulted on? Parties like the Alliance, the SDLP and Sinn Féin, are they really going to continue to bury their heads in the sand and pretend that it isn't a problem? It's intellectually dishonest, members, to pretend these pressures have no link to a broken immigration system. When accommodation is oversubscribed, when new arrivals are settled within communities without proper consultation, planning or resources, it creates strain. And those most affected are often the working class communities, forgotten by certain decision makers. Housing, as we all know, is at breaking point. There is now a dangerous and growing link between illegal immigration and the increased demand for temporary and overcrowded housing. We are seeing a proliferation of houses of multiple occupancy across towns and cities in Northern Ireland. These properties, often poorly regulated and insufficiently inspected, are rapidly altering the character of our communities. And members, the situation will only get worse. Beneath Keir Starmer's plan to stop the migrant hotels is a plan to incentivise certain landlords with 5-year guaranteed rental deals at an increased rate of that of our own civilian population. That is what's happening, and if members took a moment to consult with their communities, they would see it. You couldn't make it up. In just one street in my hometown in Portadown, there are 24 HMOs. Just think about its impact upon local residents, local communities. Councils with limited powers, not at this stage, and outdated strategic planning policies, that simply does not reflect the scale of the problem we represent. That's why this motion calls for the Infrastructure Minister to urgently review and amend that policy. Local authorities needed to be equipped with planning policies that enable them to best meet the demands of their community. When illegal immigration is allowed to flourish and go unchallenged, it becomes harder, not easier, to make the case for those who truly need help. To those who oppose this motion, I ask, what is your alternative? Are you going to continue to ignore the warning signs? Are you going to continue carrying on letting communities become unrecognisable? Should we continue letting public services collapse under demand and taxpayers to foot the bill of spiralling costs beyond all expectations? This is not about scapegoating. This is about sensible, sustainable government and it's time we restored balance and give our communities the representation that they truly need and are calling for. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr.